Welcome back to the Best Self Diary, where I once a week sit down and go over some principles, ideas, frameworks that has had the biggest impact on me this recent week, and hopefully also will help you on your journey to becoming your best self and living the life that you want to live. Today, we're going to cover a lot of different ideas and first off, get into the profound principle of showing up and always showing up no matter what. We're going to look at the balance between what you want now versus and compared to what you want most instead of what you want in the future, and take the idea to a different perspective or see it through a different lens. And furthermore, go into what this means and the intricacies of prioritizing what you want most over what you want now, but also how it works the other way around and how it ultimately will help you create an everyday life, but also an overarching story that aligns with the person you want to be and the best version of yourself in order to ultimately create the life you want to live. Um, Those are some of the ideas we'll cover today, and I think without further ado, we should just get into it. It's been a while since I've sat down and recorded one of these episodes. I want to be 100% transparent and authentic with you guys, and I have been very sick for the past 2 weeks almost. So, the last episode you saw was pre recorded, and this is recorded almost on the day. But it feels amazing to be back, and I would say I'm pretty much back to 100%. But during these 2 weeks, especially this last week, the principle of always showing up has had an immense impact on me and how I've been able to show up for myself. And essentially, this idea is that you can always do something, right? No matter how we feel, no matter what situation or circumstance we're in, we can always do something. And it's not about how well you do it, it's not about the outcome. It's simply about showing up and putting in effort. And being sick is a circumstance where you have a lot of reason or opportunity to not show up, to not do what you wanted to do, to not do what you set out to do, and to not do what you said you would do. And overall, just not show up as your best self. And for many, it is, the reason for these bad excuses or reasons being so powerful is that they are valid, right? You are in a position that makes you worse off or makes you not able to show up as your best self. So it is valid. Why should you perform and do the things you would do at your best when you're not at your best? And this is where the power of showing up comes in, because it is not about showing up as your best. It is not about utilizing 100% of the capacity you have, because you don't have the 100%, but you still have 100% of where you are. And that's the idea, that you still give what you have, that you might only be able to put in a 30 or 40% effort of what you normally would, but it will still be the 100% you had. So, with the principle of showing up, the idea is that you can always show up and do your best. You can always do something. And the power of focusing on what you can do rather than what you wish you could do, or focusing on what you cannot even do, is so profound, because it gives you the power. No matter your situation or your circumstances, and no matter if you're sick or not, you can still show up and you can still do something and you can still make an effort that you will be really proud of. You can still show up as your current best self. It might not be the best self and this ideal you have and this vision of the person you want to be, but your best self, your ideal vision of yourself can also have bad circumstances sometimes and be in a bad situation like being sick. And I think the idea of aligning with your best self is not about aligning with this ideal and this fantasy at all times. Of course, it is striving towards being your best self and aligning yourself with the person you want to be. But in situations of hardship and essentially in all situations of life, we can only do our best. And I think that is what we should judge ourselves from. Our ability to show up and to give and put in effort. Not focus on the outcome, not focus on the maximizing of potential, but focusing on maximizing what we can do, where we are, and what our abilities and capabilities currently lets us do. Of course, with the vision of always progressing and becoming better and learning and leveling up who we are with the vision of becoming better. But you can only do your best, really. And showing up will always help you do that. Showing up will always help you be at your best, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter who you want to become. Showing up is the bridge that will help you close the gap from where you are and who you are to where you want to go and who you want to be. It's really focusing on the progress instead of the end outcome or the potential, which we should keep in mind, right? We should always focus on going in the right direction and focusing on our North Star and our goals and our visions and where we want to go. But when you focus on the everyday life and showing up the best that you can, the give the effort that you have and give what you have, then you will make progress. Then you will get closer. And then you will be, by definition, your best self because you are doing what you can do. And that's the power of focusing on what you can do, focusing on how to show up and focusing on the one step in front of you that will make a difference. And then comes in this idea of sacrificing what you want now for what you want in the future. And let's say you're sick. It's very, very difficult to show up and sacrifice what you want now for what you want later because you're not feeling it. You're not ready for it. You're not capable of it even. So how can you sacrifice what you want now in order to get what you want later? Well, this is where the idea of what you want most comes into play. You remove the bounds of time and you simply focus on your best self. What would your best self want you to do? Because sometimes what we want in the moment is what our best selves would want. And sometimes sacrificing what we want in the moment for what we want later is what our best selves would want. But I think as long as you are focusing on either now or the future, you will always be in a constant battle of, is it worth it to sacrifice this for an uncertain future, right? You might not even be able to reap the fruits of your labor for all the sacrifice you do now compared to doing it for the future. You might never get to that future. So why not focus on what you want most? Because 7 to 8 times out of 10, what you want most is what you want in the future. But when you remove time and you focus on creating the reality you want in the future, but creating it in the present. That is when you create the life of your dreams. That is when you become your best self in the present. Because when you're stuck in thinking about the future, you will always live in the future. And to make it very practical and to put it into perspective, when you are sick, what you want to do now is to do nothing. It's to rest. It's to, of course, get better. But it is to just be in this situation often. What you want later is for you to show up the best you can. Give 100%. And no matter how you feel, plow through it. Get through it, right? But what if prioritizing what you want later over what you want now actually hurts you later? Actually hurts your possibilities of getting that outcome later. Well, then do you then prioritize what you want now then? And the idea is that when you're sick, if you push through your illness and you do not give your body time to recover, even though it is what you want in the future for you to push through and to get the results and get the outcome, you might even get to a point where you will be even less capable of actually getting the results you want in the future. Let's take an example for if you're injured. If you push through an injury, even though it is what you want later in the future, it might set you even more back. You might never be able to recover from the injury. And it leaves this question of if what you want in the future and sacrificing what you want now and choosing what you want in the future is then worse for you in the long run, should you then choose what you want now? Well, no, because what you want now is not aligning with what you want most. And that's the idea of what you want most. That's the importance of showing up, of always doing what you can do. Because when you're sick, what you want most is to do nothing. What you want later in the future, or what you want in the moment is to do nothing. And what you want later is to push through it and to get better and to actually get to a point where you can be 100% again. And what you want most is probably also getting back to your 100%. But going back to the idea that what you want most and later might even hurt you even more, then you have to focus on what you want now. Because then what you want now becomes what you want most, which then puts what you want later in the best possible position, gives you the best chance of actually achieving what it is you want in the future. Because normally it is the idea that we have to focus on the future over the present. We have to sacrifice what we want now for what we want in the future. Because if we don't sacrifice what we want now, then what we want in the future becomes what we sacrifice. But I think this principle is a lot deeper and more nuanced than that. Because if you're injured, even though what you want in the future is to continue, and even though what you want in the moment is to lay down and take your relaxation and your recovery, well, there's a middle ground, and that is what you want most. You want to recover because that sets you up for success in the future. It is actually both prioritizing what you want most in the present and what you want in the future at the same time. It's not choosing, it's finding a middle ground, and not even a middle ground, but an even better option. It's balancing both, not picking between do I live my life in the moment or do I live my life in the future? It's living your life from a lens of what is the best life? How can I align mostly best with my best self and what I want most. It's really the idea that we can always show up, right? And do something, that we can always only do our best, and that in any given situation, that will be our best self, even though it doesn't align with this ideal and vision and fantasy of our best self, which is still the goal. But sometimes certain circumstances call for different amounts of effort. And that is when you shift your focus to focusing on effort. And I think you actually should at all times. Because when you focus on effort rather than output, right? Focus on the input you're putting in instead of the output you're getting out and the result and the outcome you're getting. Then you focus on progress. Then you will start to see how progress is found in the input and not in the output. And you will even come to see that you will still get the results and the outcomes that you focus on or that you now are not focused on, because they will happen as a byproduct. They will happen by themselves when you focus on progress, when you focus on inputs, when you focus on showing up, no matter how you feel, no matter your circumstance, no matter your scenario. You will always do something that takes you closer. You will always be able to make progress, and you will always be in a scenario where you feel proud of the effort you're putting in, where you are not judging yourself from your ability to achieve a certain outcome, but rather the ability to always show up and put in the effort. And when you build your self-worth not on the achievements or the goals you're achieving and the output you're getting, but on the amount of input you can create, on the amount of effort, and on your willingness to always show up no matter how you feel, well, then you become unstoppable. Not only in terms of actually getting to your outcomes and to your goals and creating the vision you have in your mind, but also enjoying the process. And it's not about romanticizing the work of saying we're only here to enjoy the journey, right? It's not about only the journey and of one step. It's also about progress. But when you shift your focus, then progress becomes the win. The goal becomes progress instead of each step simply being one step closer to the goal and postponing your gratification and happiness and enjoyment for that one moment. You actually get to enjoy and experience the fulfillment of pursuing something, of being on the journey, of walking the steps. And not only does it make the journey so much more rewarding, it also makes the end outcome, the checkpoint, the milestone, the goal, and the vision you had more rewarding. Because on the contrary, if you are only set out, if you're only focused on the goal, once you get there, you might be gratified and feel a sense of gratification and reward when you reach it. But soon after, you will realize that it hasn't really changed anything. That this thing you have been chasing for so long was only a moment. So why not make every moment, every step of the journey, one of these moments that fill you with gratitude and joy and enjoyment for the process, while still getting to your goals and your outcomes, rather than just miserably grinding through the journey to get to a point, to get to one goal. Be happy for a certain and very limited time, and then realize that it would never change how you felt, that it would never change who you are. When you shift your focus to the input and the effort you're putting in, life becomes one long journey of progress, and it will always be enjoyable, even when you're making mistakes, when you're failing, and when you're about to quit, because it is part of the journey. It is part of the story that you're writing. It is part of the success story that will make the achievements worth it. But you're not doing it for the achievement. You're doing it for the story, for the love of the progress. Because progress is the goal, and progress is how you achieve your goals. This has been ideas that has occupied my mind recently, and also been a big part of the conversations we have been having inside the Best Self protocol and community, and ideas that has expanded my horizon greatly and my ability to, as mentioned in the beginning, show up no matter how I feel and still make progress whilst enjoying the process, but also getting closer to my goals. And it has shifted a lot for me, and I hope it will help you on your journey as well, and to make your journey even more enjoyable while also letting you reap the benefits of the amazing achievements you will achieve with this perspective. This has been it for this episode of the Best Self Diary, and I would love to see you inside the community if you want to hear more about these ideas and principles and share them with like minded, ambitious, and driven individuals on this journey of becoming our best self. Because your best self is waiting for you, and I am rooting for you. I'll see you next time.